Hi all, this is Priyadashni, working as an assistant professor in the Department of Artificial Intelligence and Data Science. So we are going to look into the topic process scheduling. In the previous video itself, we saw what is a process scheduling, the types of queues available in our devices, and then we saw the representation of process scheduling as a queuing diagram. Let's see what is a two-state process model. So in our system, generally we have two states. The first state is called the running state. So when new process is being created, then those processes that enters into the system, we call those process as the running state process. The other one is called the non-running state. So these are the processes that are being kept in some queue waiting for their turn to be execution. We call those processes as non-running state. So generally in our device we have two states, running state, non-running state. What is running state? Running state is nothing but when a new process is created, it enters into the system as a running state model. Otherwise, when it is kept in the queue waiting for some event, we call it as non-running state. Now, let's see what is scheduler. So, as we all know, schedulers are the most important part of an operating system. So, this scheduler is an important module in the operating system which divides which process to enter or which process to exit from the memory. So, this is being taken care by the schedulers. So schedulers are the special system softwares which handle process scheduling. So schedulers are of T types. The first one is called the long-term scheduler. Second one is called the short-term scheduler. And the third one is called the medium-term scheduler. Now let's see. Okay, now let's see what is a long-term scheduler. So we all know the long-term scheduler is the name for the long-term scheduler is called the job scheduler. So what is the thing that has to be done by the job scheduler? So job scheduler, it does nothing. It determines which programs or the which process to be admitted into the that is, we know the three different types of queues. So which process to be admitted inside the ready queue is decided by the long-term scheduler. So the main part of the long-term scheduler is to select the process from the job queue and then admits the process into the ready queue. So this work is done by the long-term scheduler. So this long-term scheduler may or may not be available in some systems, or it will be a very minimal type available in some systems. So if you take time sharing operating system, they don't have any long-term scheduler. So the next type of scheduler is called the short-term scheduler. So what is short-term scheduler? It is otherwise called as the CPU scheduler. So what is the work of CPU scheduler? The CPU scheduler decides which process from the ready queue made available or which process to be given the CPU for execution is decided by this CPU scheduler, or we call it as short-term scheduler. The next type of scheduler is called medium-term scheduler. So the medium-term scheduler does two things. So first thing is swapping. So swapping is nothing but the medium-term scheduler. It removes the process from main memory and stores the process in the secondary storage device. That has been done called as swapping. So swapping takes place as two stages, swap in and swap out. So what is swap in? When the process is ready for execution, then it will be kept in ready queue. So that process will be swapped in. If the process is needed for some IO event or some interrupt occurs, then that process would be swapped out. The next stack of the first stack is swapping. So swapping is nothing but the process is being taken from the main memory and it is kept into the queue for waiting. So this procedure is called swapping. And also the other task of the medium term scheduler is to move a process from CPU to the waiting queue. So this is your second process. So move the process from the CPU to IO waiting queue is also done by the medium term scheduler. So in process scheduling, we have three different schedulers available. So first one is called the long-term scheduler or the job scheduler. Second one is called the short-term scheduler or we call it as CPU scheduler. And the third one is called the medium scheduler. So the medium term scheduler is responsible for two different tasks. First one is called the swapping in the process whenever an interrupt occurs, and otherwise it has to make the process to wait in the IO waiting queue is also taken care by the medium term scheduler. Thank you.